Hello, I am here today with instructions on how to make a marble maze. So for this project, you are going to need some graph paper like this. You'll need a pencil with an eraser, and you will also need some straws. I happen to have striped ones. You can have solid color ones. I recommend flat, straight ones, not necessarily the bendy ones, but we can make the bendy ones work. You will also need some glue. I have Tacky glue right here, but also Elmer's glue works pretty well. And you will need some scissors. Adult scissors do tend to work a little bit better for at least part of the project, but kid scissors are fine for cutting the straws. And you will also need a box, and we are providing a box. And what you are going to do, and I'm going to give you a sneak peek of this project, is you're going to cut the lid off of your box. So, as you can see right here, I've cut the flap that was closing my box, and I have turned this into my marble maze, and I'm going to teach you how to make this. Yours will be a little bit more colorful if you have colorful straws, and yours will be whatever pattern you want it to be. This is just the pattern that I designed. So the first step is designing your pattern. And I find the easiest way to do it is to use this graph paper, and we're gonna make our maze be the same thickness as one of these boxes. So I'm gonna start by putting a start and a finish. I'm gonna put start in the upper corner, and I'm gonna put finish in the lower corner. And then I'm gonna draw my path from start to finish. And I'm just gonna, for now, I'm just gonna make it a tunnel. I'm gonna give it a few twists and turns. Now, as you can see, I'm going to actually draw my path so I can remember. I probably should have done this first. I'm going to draw my path as to where their marble will go. I am going to erase this later because I'm going to turn this into a maze. But right now this is helping me draw the places where I have my maze and the places where I have my walls. So what I did is I drew walls. I drew walls along all the outer edges. And this is pretty cool, right? It would be tricky to get a marble to go through all of these turns and bends, but it is a tunnel. It just goes straight from one point to the other. There's no places where you would get lost. So what we want to do is create a few little tricky places. So the way I'm going to do that is I am going to erase some of the walls. Now, I'm not going to erase my path yet because I'm going to leave that till the very end, because I don't want to ever forget where the correct path is. So in order to create some tricky places, first I'm going to erase this wall. And I'm just going to add, I can just open it up and I could have it be that the marble could go here or it could go here. And that could be tricky enough right there. I could also add a few more extra pretend walls. So this wall here is not really doing anything, but maybe the marble would come and get stuck. This is just how people do mazes, right? Is you want to have a few places where it's the right answer and a few places where, oops, I went that way and it didn't work. So they could go here and it wouldn't work, or here, this wouldn't work, but this would work right here. So maybe I want to create a little trick spot right here. So I'm going to erase this wall. And now look, by just erasing that wall, they could keep going on the path, or they could accidentally go into this section, which leads to a dead end. So that's good. And then let's see, it comes all the way up here, and then it goes do. Maybe I need to create another little trick spot right here. So I'm gonna erase one of those, and maybe the marble falls in here, and maybe I add another little a wall right here, just for fun. So if the marble goes like this, it'll be correct, but if the marble falls in here, it will not be correct and it'll get stuck and it'll have to come back out to go around. And finally, I'll create one more little trick spot. Since this wall goes like this, I'm gonna erase, what should I erase? Just this one right here, maybe? And so if the marble goes straight down, it would get stuck. That's not right. And if it turns, it would go to the finish. So now I have a pretty good marble maze. If you noticed, I think I used up all of my space. Now I'm going to show you a few different examples of good designs and not so good designs. So here's an example of a marble maze that's not great. So you can see, trying to make sure this is all in the frame, you can see there's a start and there's a finish and there's a path, but there's no tricks, right? Here's an example of that same kind of maze with a few trick spots added in. So there's a start, there's a finish. You can see the blue lines make the path. And then there's also a few tricky spots, right? Where you could get stuck. But the problem with this one is there's a lot of wasted space. All of these spots here, the marble it's just not even part of the maze. And so it's not really using the box to the best of its ability. But what we can do is, here's another example, this is all started from the same tunnel. Here's an example of one where there's lots of different things erased in the tunnel and lots of added little walls. So this one is really complex and it has a lot of different places where the marble could get lost and stuck. This one is maybe not the best example because it has a lot of tiny lines, and I will just tell you, when you are actually making this marble maze with your straws like this, having all those little tiny lines means you have to cut the straws in little tiny pieces, which can be a little bit tricky, but I'm pretty sure you'll figure it out. So the most important thing is having a design that has a few tricky spots, but also you always have a path to get to the right place. Going back to the maze that I just designed, I am going to draw over my walls with a marker now. So I'm going to look really carefully at where I drew my walls. You can use a marker, a Sharpie, anything that's a nice dark color so you're really clear. And after I finish drawing, I'm going to erase my path lines. A quick note, you don't need to draw, I drew a line right here to be a wall. You don't actually need to do that because this is going to be the edge of the box right here, same as right up here. This is also going to be the edge of the box, so you don't need to make a wall there. Okay, we're here to continue making our marble maze. Here I have my box, my Maker Camp box. This one is emptied out, and so if you have not yet cut off the lid, go ahead and cut right along this fold so that this lid part is separate. Please make sure to keep the lid because we're going to use it for a project, another project. So here's one where I've already cut off the lid. And the next part we're going to do is taking this maze that we've designed and we're going to put it in here, but we want to make sure that it sticks, because then what we're going to do is glue the straws onto this. So use a glue stick and just give it a nice good, come on, glue. Okay, now that we have that on there, we are going to add our straws. So you might have a variety of colors of straws. Anything is fine. You can try to make a pattern if you want, but you might just have random colors. So what we're going to do though is we're going to cut the straws to fit the length of these lines. Now, one really important thing I want to mention is the straw itself has a certain width. And so if I cut it off, let's see, let me do a slightly smaller one first where there's an intersection. Ooh, careful when you cut them, they sometimes fly. So I'm going to put this one right here. And if I were to put this one next to it, I have to be careful of what that intersection looks like. Do you see? So I'm going to want to make sure that I leave enough space that I can put it next to it. Now I need a slightly longer one for this spot, so I'll find another place to use that. Oh look, that looks pretty good. So when you cut your straws to length, chances are you'll find another place where you can use it. So I'm going to take my glue, took the glue cap off, and I'm going to just put a line of glue right here. Again, you can use tacky glue like I have, or you can also use Elmer's liquid school glue. Put the straw right there on the line, and these are going to be our walls. So I'll find a place for this one. Doesn't really matter, these are the same length. And I don't have any really scientific method of measuring the straws. I just sort of look and then I say, okay, I need to cut it about here, and then cut it. Again, you can use kid scissors to cut the straws, that should be fine. Add some glue, and there we go. I am going to continue gluing all these straws in, and I will meet you back here when I have them all in. Hi, I'm back with my glued in straws. I cut them all to fit the lines and glued them all in. And I've let it dry for a little while. So especially if you have Elmer's glue, it's going to take a while to dry, and that's totally fine. And if any of the straws pop off, you can just glue them back on. Tacky glue is a little bit stronger and it dries a little bit faster. So if you have some that keep popping off, you might want to put them back on with tacky glue. And you should have a marble somewhere in one of the Ziploc bags. So we are going to try this marble maze and see if it works. Woohoo! Oh, I'm stuck. Here we go. Oh, I'm stuck again. And oh, I ran into a problem. Okay, this is actually a great example of a problem. So these two straws are too close together because the straws are thick. Some of you might have slightly bigger or slightly smaller marbles. Yeah, that spot is just too tight for this marble to go through, and that's part of the important path, so I really need it to go through. So I'm not going to get too frustrated, but I am just going to sort of pull up this guy. If the paper underneath tears, it's not the end of the world. Yeah, a little extra glue. I'm going to try to take that off. And what I want to do is I want to move it down just a tad, but I'm also running into this problem of, does it fit in between the pink ones, or does it go under this pink one? I don't want this spot to be too tight either. So I'm just going to trim off this end to make sure it all fits. And there we go. I think I'll be able to get it to fit right in between the two pink straws. And I'm just going to move it down a tiny bit. Oops, cap. I'm just going to move it down a tiny bit below the line because I also don't want it to be too close to this one. And I'm just going to put the glue side back on the glue side. And I'm going to test it with my marble. Maybe I should have tested it with my marble earlier, huh? To make sure the width was good. I'm going to add that to the directions. Now I know, right? When we learn something, when we make mistakes, we learn something. Great. Okay, so now I'm gonna let that one dry, but I can keep playing. I'm gonna start it from here so I don't bump into the wet one. And, stuck again. Oh, stuck again. Ooh, this spot's tricky. Oh no, what can I do? There we go, woohoo, I made it. So If you want to add any more fun things to this, you could put like a flag at the start or the finish. You could put little like bridges out of paper. Those are all just decorative. They're not necessarily making the maze any harder or easier. It's just for fun. And then also you have a nice white box. And so you could decorate the outside, you could decorate the inside, all these different spots. You could write your name on it or draw some pictures with markers. And then you can enjoy your marble maze. And this goes with the concept that Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. Whoever comes through me will have eternal life. And that is from the book of John. And I think a maze is a great reminder that Jesus knows the path. Jesus shows us the way to get through these little challenging spots. So enjoy playing with your marble maze.